Recently, my favorite database company, Planetscale, announced that they are deleting their free tier, laying a bunch of people off, and ultimately kind of changing how they think about their business model. Now, I'm not here today to talk about the business side of things, what this means for them as a company. Rather, I want to talk about this kind of from the perspective of a user and what this kind of means for me and how I think this is going to work going forward from a sort of customer standpoint. So, in their announcement, I'm not going to go through and read the whole thing. A bunch of other big creators have covered this already. Really, the big thing that I want to talk about here is our hobby plan will be retired on April 8th, 2024. You can find more information about the plan deprecations, such as exporting your data or upgrading, etc., etc. The point is, the hobby plan is going away. And what does this mean? This means that the top of funnel learning about Planetscale, trying it out, is gone. And it also means that it's going to be really freaking hard for me to recommend this database to people. And honestly, I don't know how much I'm going to cover it too much in videos in the future. I had a video planned where I wanted to talk about all the awesome things that Planetscale does and why I think that the things it has in it are things that I want to see more databases adopt. I want to see more people learn and adopt. But ultimately, I don't even know if I'm going to make that video because look, $40 a month as a base entry point for a company that's making money, yeah, I totally get it. That's not much money. And for Insider Viz, we're funded, we're growing, we're doing things. It's kind of okay for us to be like, yeah, we can spend $40 a month on our database. We're already spending a bunch on other infra things and background workers, and it makes sense to us. But for my day-to-day fucking around, making random stuff, this really is not reasonable. I'm not going to pay for a database for the kind of projects that I make all the time on this channel, where we make to-do apps and do a bunch of different stuff. When I want to sit down and try out Next.js or Vue or Nuxt or whatever, I'm not going to use this anymore. And it does kind of suck. And the first thing I want to talk about here is something I see Theo talking about all the time. And it's this idea of younger devs, or just devs in general, who are super excited and passionate about technology. And if you're watching this video on this tiny of a channel, you 100% fit in that bucket. And it's the idea of guys like us coming into companies and advocating for the tech that we have fallen in love with, the new patterns. And I have done this very directly for Planetscale. Last year, I worked at an app agency, and when I went in and I started working there, they were using Amazon RDS, and I came in and I'm like, hey, I've been using Planetscale for all my projects. It does the same thing, but it's got all these extra features and it's a lot better. Can we try using it? We tried using it. It went super well. And now I know of at least 3 projects which are using it, one of which I think is going to get very big and is doing quite well. And that's entirely because I got to play with the free plan. I got to hear about it on the internet. I got to try out these features. I got to learn what they were, and I really enjoyed and liked it. And now that's actually in production. And it sucks to me that that's getting cut off here. Because I can't really in good conscience recommend this to you guys for just trying stuff out. It's a great database. I still stand by that. I still think this is probably the best in class database there is. I don't think that anyone can really compete with this. And I'm going to talk about why in a second. But ultimately, the top of funnel feels kind of dead here. It's really going to be tough to get a younger dev who's just screwing around making side projects, learning stuff. It's going to be really hard to convince them that it's a good idea to just upfront pay $40 a month on a little project that is almost certainly never going to go anywhere versus just whipping up a new Terso instance or opening up a new Railway box or whatever you want to do to just play around and get it working. And the next thing I want to talk about here, which I think is honestly one of the most devastating parts of this for me personally, is the fact that not nearly as many people are going to get access to the features which Planetscale has, and that's ultimately going to hurt their adoption industry-wide because now a lot of these free tier B2C databases aren't going to have to compete with this anymore. If we go over here to my Sentiment Art database, which is in production, it's on the Scalar plan, it's using all these different things, there are so many features in here which I want to see more databases adopt. The biggest ones for me are the branching feature. This is by far, in my opinion, the best way to work with migrations, with schemas in your database. The idea of whipping out a staging branch, going in here, pushing schema diff changes to our staging branch, and then ultimately opening up a pull request or whatever I don't remember what they call it, but opening up basically a PR to our main branch and deploying our schema that way is so good. I see so many instances where someone will accidentally open up prod on their local development branch and drop a bunch of tables because they were running some unsafe migration. That literally cannot happen on Planetscale. If you look at my main branch right here, safe migrations are on. The only way I can change the schema on my main branch is by going to my staging branch and then pushing stuff in. And that is an awesome pattern that I want to see more databases adopt. And actually, it is being adopted in more places. Recently, I got to try out Supabase's internal demo for their branching feature. And it's awesome. It is really good. It is a very similar process to this, where I can do my local development, do it in my local Supabase instance, push those changes up to GitHub. When I push those changes up to GitHub, it will create a new staging branch. It will deploy all those changes there. I can test them, make sure they work, and then I can merge those into my main branch. So instead of just directly pushing and migrating into my production database, I can do these nice safe migration patterns, which I think are so much better. Another thing that Planetscale has, which I'm bummed to see is not going to be accessible to nearly as many people, is their excellent serverless support. The Planetscale serverless driver is amazing. If you use Drizzle or you've used any of the projects I've worked on, you can tell that you get really great performance from their serverless driver. They also have an amazing UI. They have tons of great features. It scales really well. It's a really good database, and not as many people are going to get to see that. And honestly, that's just kind of sucks. And honestly, I don't really know what you do about this. Again, like I said, I don't know enough about the business side of things to really comment. I'm sure they would not have done this if they didn't have a very good reason to do it. And I think I saw on Twitter, I'll fact check in editing if this is right, but I think the CEO said that a lot of their biggest clients are like paying $200K a month or something for their database. So if that's the case, then like, yeah, fair enough. I guess the free tier probably really doesn't matter. And I have learned as we've been messing around with, messing around with Insider Vismore, and we're working on trying to figure out where we want to host our forums database. We tried out Amazon RDS, and it is really, really, really expensive. So I would not be surprised if Planetscale was losing absurd amounts of money on the free tier. So I do understand from that perspective. Yeah, it's tough to cut that off. And, again, I don't have any solutions here, just it sucks. And for me personally, going forward, I need to try out more databases, and I need to figure out, okay, what is something that I want to use for my side projects? Because we're not going to stop making random crap and breaking shit and just doing dumb random stuff. And I need to have good databases to do this. And I think the leading contenders for me right now are Supabase and Terso. I also want to try out Zada, whatever the heck this is. They have a cool looking landing page. That's as much as I know, but I do want to try it. MySQL and Postgres. MySQL and Postgres, I can get those directly on Railway. There's a great way of doing that. Neon, I don't know a huge amount about, other than I've heard some horror stories, and I never want to hear horror stories about my database. So yeah, I don't know. This entire thing really is just kind of unfortunate. When I first started this channel like a year and a half ago or whatever, and I was still on the really obscenely shitty mic, and had my bed in the background back there, and I was just talking about stuff, and I was making my first videos. In one of those first videos, I talked about Planetscale, and I talked about what I liked about it and the way they do things, and the CEO saw it. He liked it, sent me some stuff, and that did mean a lot. And I do, I know it's a company, I know it's cringe, I get it, but still, I really do want to see them succeed. I think their product is amazing. I think the tech is amazing, and it does bum me out that less people are going to get to see it. I don't know what we do here. I hope that this doesn't spell dark things for the industry. I think a lesson here for sure, at least something that I've learned, is that compute isn't free. Someone is paying for, whenever you're running something in the cloud, whenever you're running a server, someone's paying for it. And clearly Planetscale is paying a lot here, and now you have to pay for the compute there. And if we go to these other providers, we're gonna have to pay for compute there. I don't have any answers, just something to think about, and we'll see what the future holds. I wish everyone at Planetscale all the best. To everyone who was laid off, I don't know any of them personally, but I follow a lot of them online. They make incredible pieces of content, and they've done incredible work. It's just a bummer, but yeah, I don't know how to close this one. Just, this sucks.